Good evening. Welcome to Mi Gente On Air, the live stream where we talk about Latino culture, Latino concerns, and of course, Latino contributions. I am your host, Larry Rodarte, and I'm glad to be with you here tonight. And I'm excited because we have some great performers in the house, and they're going to join me in a few seconds. But I just want to give some time to let some of the viewers come in to our live stream here, but we're going to be talking the arts. We're going to be talking about Frida, the Michigan Opera performance that is coming February 26th and February 27th. And it's really a show to not be missed because I'm telling you, the performance is extraordinary. That's all I can say. And it came in March of 2015. And 7 years later, we're back in the into the Detroit market as the Michigan Opera celebrates 50 years since its existence. In 1971, it was founded. And here we are celebrating 50 years. And the first performance, I believe, is the Frida opera. So that's really nice that they're celebrating in a big way because Frida was one of the favorites of so many when it came in 2015. So join me here on Mi Gente On Air as we celebrate Latino cultures and contributions and concerns and Frida Kahlo and just so many great things about our culture. And we'll be back in about a minute and a half and we'll start the show. Thanks for being with me.
Welcome to Mi Gente On Air on 100.5 and 790 News Radio WSGW and online WSGW.com. Now, here is your host, Larry Rodarte.
Welcome to another edition of Mi Gente On Air. And yes, I am your host, Larry Rodarte. There is so much going on in our world today. So much strife, so much polarization. Yet it is the arts that bring us together. A song, a dance, a halftime show at the Super Bowl. And as in a previous show, we talked about how Latino contributions are sought out after currently in Michigan in the arts, from the Detroit Opera House to the Detroit Symphony to Saginaw's Marshall Frederick Sculpture Museum. Latinos are in demand, and I am so excited because I want to announce that the Frida opera is coming back to Michigan. You know, she broke the mold. She was before her time. She burned the script. She dared to live, and she lived hard. That was Frida Kahlo, the artist. Hardly any woman of the 20th century defined fierce like Frida Kahlo. And hardly any work captures the spirit of Frida as completely as the Michigan Opera's intrinsic and proud portrait of the iconic Mexican artist. This opera, I'm telling you, is incredible. the feeling that you get when you see this live performance by these entertainers. And Frida will be performed at the Music Hall Center for the Performing Arts in Detroit this February 26th and 27th. And tonight I have the stars of Frida, Catalina Cuervo, and Ricardo Herrera, known as the Fiery Soprano. My friend, Colombian American soprano Catalina Cuervo, is considered one of the leading voices of Latin American repertoire in the world. And playing Diego Rivera, Ricardo Herrera is a bass baritone performer, a teacher, a stage director. He has sung in more than 50 operatic roles around the United States, Mexico, and Europe. Please help me welcome Catalina Cuervo and Ricardo Herrera to Mi Gente On Air. Bienvenidos.
Buenas noches.
Buenos
Good evening,
noches.
Larry. Thank you so much for having us today.
Oh, thank you for being with me here. It's such a thrill because you guys are so outstanding in your performance, and anybody who sees this show, sees Frida the Opera, will come away just feeling so proud of their culture and so proud of being Latino because it's so
Yes.
there's so much culture. And what do you feel today? I know, it's been especially hard on performers everywhere because of the pandemic, and so much of the pandemic has changed our lives. And in every show, it seems like we have to bring up something about the pandemic. But I know, Catalina, it's been hard for you, especially because there's performances that have been canceled due to health concerns or whatever. Tell me what you guys are feeling today.
What are we feeling today? So first of all, very thankful and that we are actually going to perform Frida because it has been at risk and has been canceled in the previous 2 years. And that to be finally here and to have this opportunity to perform next week and open the show, it's actually, we're very thankful. Maybe before the pandemic, we used to take our jobs, just, it was our job, but now we're, now we know what it is to lose our job and not to be able to perform and to have to cancel and all that. So it's just a miracle that we're here. I just feel so thankful.
Yes. Ricardo, what would you like to add to that?
Oh man, I completely agree with the Kata. It's a privilege actually for us to be here. I consider myself very fortunate to be able to be back here in this place where it all started for this production of Frida Kahlo in 2015. And after we performed this piece in several parts in the country, and having the scheduled performances back, I think it was 2 years ago, and we couldn't do it because of the pandemic, and then we didn't know when it was going to happen. So living all those times of uncertainty, and finally being back here in this, even though it's a cold weather in Detroit right now, it doesn't matter. I'm happy to walk back and forth every time from my apartment to the opera rehearsal room, because you just love what you do. We just love doing what we do, and it's a treat for us. It's really a privilege to be able to be doing this show.
Well, I'm so thrilled, as you can see, because Frida Kahlo. I love Frida Kahlo. I've had her on my publication Mi Gente several times. This was actually the one that we put out that was so popular during the 2015 performance, as well as for the DIA. And then I have some of the, as you can see from the
yes,
program.
Yeah, the program. I've got all kinds of stuff. I save everything.
Oh my God, Larry, that's amazing.
Yeah, but I'm so thrilled for you guys, because I know that it means a lot, this production. And so you guys, since 2015, had actually performed this around the country?
Correct. So the revival, the opera was premiered in 1991. Then when it was performed a little bit, and then the work had been a little bit on the side for some years, and it hadn't been performed by any major opera house in the United States for a little bit. So when in 2015 we did the big revival of the opera and a new production by Jose Maria Condemi, our director.
Yes.
And so it was, and it was a truly, just a truly magical time. And everything that was happening in Detroit, the Opera House, the people, the team, you guys, the magazine, everything made that show to be a big success in 2015. And pretty quickly, other opera houses in the United States were very jealous of what was going on in here.
Yeah,
So,
I can imagine.
so
I can
we,
imagine.
yeah, the work just like woke up again, and it has been performed in many, at this point, many productions all over the United States. And the work every year gets more and more recognition. Unfortunately, 2020, the year of the pandemic, was the one where, at least personally, I had the most Fridas in the United States, and it was many of them were canceled. So we
Mm,
hope that the work will again, continue growing and being performed everywhere.
yes, yes. Well, I need to have my listeners find out about each of you. So I want you to give me a little background, where you're from, and how you got into the business of being opera singers. Ladies first.
I was going to say Ricardo. uh, well, I was born in Colombia, and but I came to the United States 20. Today I was in the math. I came 22 years ago to the United States,
Wow.
to Miami first, and then a couple other cities. So I do feel very much Colombian American. My whole adult life has been here in the United States. So
And how did someone like you get involved in the opera? I mean, obviously you must have sang and had this talent that was recognized as a very young girl. How did that evolve and how did that come about?
so it all started, when I was very little. My great aunt, so my grandmother's sister, was Colombia's most famous coloratura soprano. Her name was Alba del Castillo. She was called El Ruiseñor de Colombia. And she was very famous. And my grandmother was very much involved as an older sister. She was very much involved in her education in Bellas Artes, the conservatory, and just being beside her and like seeing all this, her career,
Mhm.
blossom. So unfortunately, she died before I was born, but when I was born, she was still, and it still is, the big, pride of my family. And just everybody knows her in Colombia, and not only as an opera singer, but she used to sing a lot of popular music, and all this, in her lyrical voice, and she just became very famous. But anyways, when I woke up, when I was born, my grandmother would always be talking about her and putting her music, and I will, hearing her album. So I've been hearing opera music, since I was, opera and classical music since I was very little. And then my father was a very big influence in me musically. He really loved all kinds of music, but there was two things mostly. One was classical music, and the other one was rock.
Mm.
So that's where I developed my love, let's say, for rock music and classical music. And I started playing piano and then guitar, and it just started evolving. And when I moved to the United States, I didn't know I wanted to sing opera, but pretty quickly, when I was in school studying music, very quickly we understood that the voice was there and that I should go that way. So that was
Wow.
20 years ago. So
What pride that must be to know the voice is there, to have an ancestor who sings and then it's passed down, that gene or what have you, the talent. So I mean,
definitely, we didn't know that the operatic voice was there at all. It was sort of a surprise. Yeah.
Ricardo, what's your story?
Well, it's a little different than Kata's. In first of all, my family is Mexican, so I was born into a Mexican family that lived in the border town of Juarez and borders with El Paso, Texas.
Mm,
And my father was able to do business in both sides of the countries in both countries. So I was born when in El Paso, Texas, when we were in Texas. And I grew up bilingual. I grew up with both cultures, which I feel very, very proud right now. At that time, in the early 70s, most kids, were encouraged not to show up and say, you can speak Spanish. They would say, no, no, just merge into the culture and speak English. But I think I was very fortunate that my family encouraged me to keep both languages and encouraged me to keep the Spanish language and the Mexican culture. Now that I grew up, now that I speak, this language that I love so much, and then when I studied music and I started learning all the other languages that you have to study when you're a singer, I realized that the more languages, the more rich your culture is, the more friends you can make. So I encourage now my students and even now my children who also grew up bilingual. I encourage them to just take the language and take the culture. It's part of their heritage, and it's part of their culture, and it's part of their pride. So I grew up like that. I went back and forth both countries, and eventually I graduated from high school and I went to college, but I was going to be a computer scientist. I loved math, I love physics, I love all that crazy science. But at the same time, I also loved music. So I ended up having choir classes and voice lessons. And there was one year, on the second year of college that I looked at both things and I said, well, what really makes me happier? And this would work for me. I don't know what it would work for other people. And I said, I'm going to choose music. And I completely changed my curriculum and I went to music full force. I graduated from the University of Texas in El Paso with all my friends. There's a lot of friends there still in El Paso. And then I went for my graduate work in New York and at Juilliard. So when I leave El Paso, when I leave that small country, small community, and I go to the big city, then my eyes opened up to this whole world of opera and a world of new art and European influences, and I loved it. I think it was a nice awakening for me. I fell in love more and more with the art form of music and singing, and I wanted to become better and better at it. So since then, I've been, continuous. I think a singer continues to study all his life. It's like scientists. They never stop learning. We need to keep working and need to keep exercising our crafts until we get to the point that we cannot do it anymore. So it's a great sensation. It's a great feeling to be able to do what we want, to do what we like, which is in this case music and singing. And even though in my family, I mean, Katas has this beautiful story about her family. In my family, nobody really had that particular gift of singing. But my mom tells me about an uncle who played the violin in town where she grew up, and he was really, really well recognized there. They loved what he did, but it was all without studies. It was just coming from the heart. It was just coming from living in the moment, with your friends and with nature. And I think a singer, eventually, it's what you want to do. You want to sing everything that you studied, everything that you practice, but you want to communicate it in such a way that it sounds and it looks natural. It looks like it's part of your environment. So I try to do that. I think we all try to do that.
Very, very, very
Yeah.
nicely said. Yes, and I have cousins that are in the opera and Broadway, and David Badella. He's from Chicago, but he's out living in London. He won the Sir Laurence Olivier Award in London a few years back, as well as Michael Callis. He was a descendant of Maria Callas, actually, the opera singer. And I'm related to both of them. And I'm just wondering, because I feel like within the realm of my large families that, they're the exceptions, they're the only ones. Is there very many Latinos in the field?
Yes, yeah. I'll tell you, at least in Colombia, you would think, like that, opera is not in anybody's mind. And, from the year I left Colombia, which was 2000, we had, at least in my city, Medellin, we had two schools, one conservatory and one university that had opera as a major, only two. To Let's go to today, every major university in there now has a music program and an opera program. So I think it's like 4 or 5 universities in my city alone. In Bogota, I'm sure there's I don't know how many schools. So, every year more and more um, young people come and are interested in music and interested in classical music and specifically in opera, and graduating every year more and more people, which is, astonishing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I think so.
sometimes some, like here, those of us in the Midwest, we're not as exposed to, say, the opera or the symphony, and I know in the Detroit market, the Detroit Symphony actually came to a church recently where they performed. They brought it to the people rather than the people paying tickets and going to the symphony. And what do you see might be some of the roadblocks that may prevent young Latinos from, witnessing or seeing some of these opera shows?
I I want to say also, Larry, that yes, to answer your previous question, there are many Latinos right now involved in the opera world, and I'm so proud of that number. You see a lot of Mexican, at least I know several of the Mexican artists who are there, who started, like all of us in young artist programs. I met some of them in, for example, San Francisco Opera, where we were doing the young artist programs in San Francisco Opera, the Merola program, the Adler Fellowship, and now that they're taking all over the stages of the world, and it's fantastic to see this. I think we have a very influential person, since the beginning of the trend to follow opera with Mr. Placido Domingo, who encouraged a
Mhm.
lot of these young artists, Latin American singers, to pursue it, and he will support them, and he will provide any means that he could to help them out. I I,
Yeah.
I benefit from that. I was part of the Operalia competition, and I could see how encouraging this was. So it's a good thing to see this. Now I'm a teacher at one of the universities in the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana, and just like Kata was saying, I have now students from all over the world, and especially from Latin America. I have a lot of students from Colombia, several students from
Yeah. Yeah.
Texas, Mexico, just like me, in the bicultural areas. And there's people from Peru, people from Argentina, and it's great to see this new generation coming up to this world of opera.
Yeah.
And coming down to your second question is, I think one of the roadblocks is probably the lack of information, or the lack of exposure. We live in a time that everything is so fast. Everything has to be done in 1 minute. So obviously not everybody has access to all the information that is out there. Even though we have more information on the web, everything is so fast. So I think one of the roadblocks is actually education. We probably need to bring this to these generations, but in a massive format, so that kids, when they're young, they already are exposed to this art form. So when they grow up, they will recognize it as something accessible, something beautiful. I think education is one of the keys.
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
Catalina, do you want to add to that? I just want to say, though, that's part of the reason why I thought it was so important that you get on TikTok and you start TikToking
Yeah.
performances and that. Go ahead.
So we can sit down in here and talk about a million things that we could do better, and ways to reach the younger red generation. Uh, and from all the things that we can talk about, I specifically want to talk about one thing, is that sometimes opera, I like contemporary opera, like Frida, for example, because a lot of the stories are stories that people can relate, and from nowadays. And our classical opera, even though for me is the best music wise, or I hate to say that, but I prefer the classical pieces music wise than the contemporary pieces. But the stories, people don't really relate to them a lot, and that, so the younger generation just doesn't click with those stories, or not. I cannot generalize, but
Mhm.
most youngsters will just not click with it. Frida, for example, is an opera that clicks with a younger generation, because a lot of people know her story, and it's, even though she was born in 1920s, in the opera world, this is contemporary, this is from now, this is a current story. And there's something that has happened very beautifully in every performance that we've had of Frida, which is that I always connect with a young girl, and it's very weird. It's nobody. Let me tell you this story. Nobody planned this, but every time we perform Frida, somebody in the audience brings a little girl. So here, I want to talk about the little girl from Detroit because Yolanda, who is now my friend, she is from the La Asociación de Colombianos in Michigan. Yoli brought her young daughter at the moment. I don't know how many years Aria was, but she was like, Ricardo, remember Aria?
Yes,
She
of
was
course.
like 5 or 6 years old. I don't remember how young she was. And Monica, our stage production designer, also brought her niece, who was also very, a little girl, like 7 years old. And this was Aria's and first opera ever. And Aria, nowadays, Jolie sent me some messages of her yesterday. She's singing opera, musicals, and she's amazing. She's now like 15 years old and she's super tall and beautiful, but she's so talented. But she went when she was a kid to the opera and related to Frida's story. And it was moved in such a way that Aria nowadays loves opera. And this has happened in every city that I go to. So these stories of the contemporary opera are really relatable. So one of the blockages is just to create more opera, new opera, with stories that a younger generation can relate to.
Well, that's a beautiful story. And this old guy here, when I was in the theater over when I actually saw both performances at the Macomb Community College and at the Detroit Institute of Arts, and I was just blown away because that feeling that you get by just sitting there and seeing a live performance in the theater. I mean, there's no explanation that how you
Yeah.
feel. I mean, it's so empowering, and the way you guys performed that whole production. I mean, it was just beautiful. So I really want to encourage anybody who's out there thinking about buying a ticket to go to see this on February 26th and 27th. Do it. Just like the Ballet Folklorico last week over there at the
Oh yeah.
University Musical Society. Take the time, take your family members, because it is so worth it, and you're going to get so much from this production of Frida. You're going to learn so much. There will be parts where you didn't even know about
Yeah.
Frida, and Catalina and Ricardo. They do such a great job. We're going to come back from commercial. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with Catalina Cuervo and Ricardo Herrera from the Frida Michigan Opera performance. Well, I hope you guys are all enjoying the show today here with these performers. I mean, we got a class act here on Mi Gente On Air today. Both these performers are professionals in their field, and it's just wonderful to have them here. So I hope you're all enjoying this. I don't know, Chandler, if we're seeing any comments on the live feed.
We haven't gotten any comments.
I don't see that it's on there, right?
We've gotten a lot of people are watching, and
Oh,
a
are
lot
they?
of people are reacting.
Well, then I've got to tell everybody out there, come on, this is your chance. If you got a question or a comment, you want to give these performers, feel free, because this is what Mi Gente On Air is about. It's about, making sure that we are all together on this, bringing forth our Latino culture to the mid-Michigan area, to the Great Lakes Bay region, as well as beyond in Detroit and Flint. And I've tagged so many of my Detroit friends on this as well. So I do have somebody here who's making a comment. I got to put on my glasses. She says, Pauline Cap, Frida was my very first opera. I attended it and I was so impressed. The cast was amazing. So
Oh my God.
a
Yes.
little girl,
Great.
it really touches
Thank
their
you.
hearts. Yes, yes. And I encourage everybody to make comments or what have you, because when do we actually have the ability to talk with performers like these professionals? As a community, I know here in Saginaw and even in the Detroit market, there's really been an effort put forth to bring the arts in a spectacular way to our state of Michigan. And you may see this like in Miami or down in Texas or California or New York. But here in Michigan, we got it going on. And like my friend Martina Guzman, 2 weeks ago, we talked and she said, Hispanics have arrived. They have arrived here in the arts here in Michigan.
We love Martina. We love
Martina, yes. She was instrumental in getting the dress.
Definitely. She was instrumental in the overall success of the show. Like Martina, we love Martina.
Yes.
Very thankful to her.
Yes, she's a phenomenal. And I had her, I think it was 2 weeks, wasn't it, Chandler, that we had her?
I think so.
Yeah, we were talking about just how so much is happening in Michigan right now with the arts. And it just seems like everybody wants to tap into that Latinx or the Latino culture right now. And that's a beautiful thing because, I started Mi Gente magazine 27 years ago, and that was not the case. That was not the case. And so, it's wonderful to see this happening today. And I got a call today from the Marshall Fredericks Sculpture Museum here in Saginaw, and they're doing something with Sandra Cisneros' book, and they want to bring forth an exhibit in June, I believe. Well, they've got a grant where they're going to be performing or bringing to the museum production of with Sandra Cisneros' book. And so they're, looking to in May and June to really give it a bang at the end. And so we're really excited about that. And we've had the Saginaw Art Museum. They're interested in doing an exhibit with Latino artists in our state of Michigan. So, I mean, there's a lot going on, and I'm so happy to see that. But we're going to go back into the show here. How much time do we got, Chandler?
We got another 24 minutes and 30 seconds to go.
And you see how fast that went? Didn't it go fast?
I know, it went so fast.
So, yeah, like I really want to talk a little bit more about the show, Frida, because I really, I don't know how to convey any more so than through the magazine or through this Mi Gente On Air to tell people to go to see this show, because I know what I experienced there in 2015 was just phenomenal. And I had seen shows before. I've seen Cats. I've seen, some of the other productions at the Wharton Center in Lansing. But man, when it is a show about your culture, about somebody who you admire, Frida Kahlo. We have the Frida Awards here in the state of Michigan. And I mean, it just is so much more. And to see authentically someone like Catalina and Ricardo performing is just beautiful. It really is. So I really want to encourage everyone out there to consider going February 26th and 27th. Okay, we're going to go back into the show. That was for my live stream audience. And let's continue on in this great discussion.
You're listening to Mi Gente On Air on WSGW.
Welcome back, Mi Gente. Thank you so much for being with us this evening here on Mi Gente On Air as we talk with Catalina Cuervo and Ricardo Herrera, the performers, the opera singers in the Frida Opera that's coming to Michigan here to the Detroit area February 26th and 27th. Catalina, I know that you are described as the fiery soprano. and we know Frida was a woman before her time. How much do you relate to Frida Kahlo?
How much do I relate? Well, there's many things that throughout the years, I don't know, if it's because I've been playing her so much, but I'm starting to get a lot of things of her life, which, for example, I have a huge injury in my back. And can I say a bad word?
Yes. Well, in Spanish or in English? You have to.
in Spanish. So I, there's a part of the opera that she sits down and she says that I so I can finally sit in my chair to release like the pain in my chingada spine. So it's like,
I remember
this
that.
is,
I remember that.
yeah, yeah, chingada spine. She says that, it's just, I have a lot of pain in my back. Nothing, not even close to what Frida had to live, but that definitely we can relate. And then just as an artist, like as a woman, as an artist, and all the struggles that we have in life. She had her own struggles, and I had my own, and I have my own. And it's just I find myself um in the same roller coaster that she lived, and the ups and downs of being an artist, and the ups and downs of being a woman, in trying to find recognition as an artist, trying to find or to find out, like, who am I, when you take off, my last name and my parents and my story and my great aunt and my husband and my cats, and who is Catalina Cuervo, what am I doing here, like, what is my purpose in life, what do I want to do with my career, and all that struggle, is just very similar to Frida in many ways. And but I wish I was as resilient and as she was. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, the parallels, they do seem similar, but I'm sure you're just as strong from what I know and see of you on Facebook and all. And I congratulate you for continuing on this road and bringing forth Frida so that the masses can see who she is, because you're probably the closest thing to getting to the Frida Kahlo, that existed and came to Detroit, Michigan in the 1930s. Ricardo?
I really do. Playing this role is very different. I've mentioned it. It's just very different than playing any other role in opera, because we're performing real people that everybody, not everybody, people love them, know them. They know specifics of them. People even know how she painted, how she talked. So it's just, it's such a big responsibility, and I just try to do the best I can to make people feel a little bit like they were in the presence of her. That's what we try.
Yes, and you're doing a phenomenal job. You both are, and as you can see on the screen, there's some great pictures from the
Oh yeah.
performance at the Macomb Community College. And Ricardo, I see that you're trying to emulate the famous iconic artist Diego Rivera, and you're put on a few pounds. What
That's
was that
right.
like? What was that like there to portray such an icon in the Mexican culture, Diego Rivera?
I loved many things about this role, many, many, but I think one of my favorite things is to put on that belly. I loved when I came to audition, when I came to audition for this piece, Maestro Diquera said, "We love you. We love how you sound. We love how you relate with Catalina. It sounds like you. It's almost like you know the role already, and is brand new for you. But the way you're doing things on stage, you look very organic. You're just a little too not. You're a little too thin for this role." And
Yeah, yeah.
and I go, "Oh well, I'm sorry." He said, "Don't worry, don't worry. We're gonna build something for you, and you're gonna look great." And they did. They built a nice fat. I love my little fat belly. I love it. And they put it on me. It was hard at first because all of a sudden I'm coming to the costume measurements and trying the fat belly. And Larry, you should have seen. I mean, I got the heat was immediate. Like I got so warm, and my blood pressure started to drop immediately. They had to sit me down and give me salts because it was a lot. My body was not ready for that. In the end, I
Wow.
got used to it. They do a beautiful job with the costumes. I I love this character because at home we knew about him. I actually went to Mexico City when I was a kid, and I saw all these murals when I was in a school trip. I went to see these, and I was able to see them, very close to me, and not even knowing that at one point in my life I was going to pretend to be him playing on stage. He was a very influential painter in Mexico and in the world. I mean, I hate to say this, but before we knew all about Frida, we knew only about Diego. Diego was the
Mhm.
the famous painter from Mexico,
Yes.
And thanks to the relationship with Frida, Frida became now what we know Frida, and now who remembers Diego? Nobody remembers Diego, but
I
it's
do.
but it's the beautiful relationship of these two artists as humans, but also as artists who were able to put together their charm, their passions, and leave something for the world. So I actually feel great that I'm able to play this role. All I knew from before the show, before the opera, was the books that I read about him and the paintings that I saw live. My father used to talk about him, and he called him El Panzón, the big belly guy. And I
Yes.
would smile at my dad and say, "Yeah, look who's talking," because my dad was also with a big belly,
Yeah.
and we just had a nice laugh every time. And then when I told him I was going to be playing this role, he couldn't be prouder. I felt really good. Actually, Diego Rivera looked more like my dad than he looked like me. I think my dad kind of had the same uh, facial features and of course the belly.
Yeah, I can see a resemblance, and I think that's when you were selected to play this role, I definitely think they made the right choices because, from what I understood, there was quite a few that applied, and David had said to me that he really felt that he had made the right choices back in 2015, and I have to agree. Definitely. You guys are there in Detroit now, as you're preparing for this opera on the 26th and 27th. How does it feel for you? Because I seen Catalina when you were there in the DIA with the frescoes of Diego Rivera. I mean, these are amazing works that were almost whitewashed at one time, but the art community
Oh my
saved
God.
them. So,
Yeah.
how does it feel as you guys are here in Detroit and you're preparing for these roles?
So in 2015, we performed in three theaters, and the third theater was the one inside of the DIA. And I just remember, the exhibition, Frida's artwork was in town, was at the DIA, and I just remember like us all getting there, and it was like the smallest theater of the three, but it was the most magical because you could feel like it was like mind blowing that they were there 100 years before in that same space, painting those murals, living in Detroit, like right across. You could where their apartment was. They walked here, they went through this door. He was, I have all these videos that the DIA sent me of him just painting the murals and her just taking lunch to him and sitting beside him. Then there was like I don't know if it was a solar or a lunar eclipse that was very famous.
Mhm.
And I have videos of them up there at the DIA looking at the eclipse. And then we are 100 years after at the museum performing this opera, and celebrating their life. It's just mind blowing. And then this week we did a couple of videos of a couple of arias in at the how is it called, where the murals are, the
The frescoes in the garden area, I forget what
yeah,
it's
that's
called too. Yeah.
yeah. So we were there, and it's just, again, like, you cannot, I'm like, live like I'm outside of my body. I'm like, I cannot believe I'm like dressed as Frida, celebrating her life, singing her this music where they were like right here, and you could feel their presence. This is just unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah. Ricardo, how does it make you feel, while you're in the
It's it's awesome, Larry. And you know what? Another thing that's happening now that we're talking about 2015 and singing at the Art Institute in Detroit, there's another element that is happening right now. It is actually like a reunion because several of the cast members back in 2015 are now with us here. Catalina and I've been, like we said, we've been performing this production in several other places in the country with other casts. But here we got these same people that we learned to love back then, and we have so many stories now. They're back with us, a little gray hairs like I do now. But it's great to have this reunion and sing the same music that we did 2015, which, by the way, also, as Catalina can attest to this, many of these little lines that we have in the opera Catalina and I will look at it and we say, yeah, nobody would do it like David. Or, oh yeah, nobody would do it like no. I mean,
Yes,
we
for
learned
years.
to love every cast, but that first cast is like the original cast got a big imprint on us, and I love that. Coming back to them, it makes me feel so happy to have this reunion.
What?
By the way, Clodagh,
Uh-huh.
which is our castmate, is watching us right now, and she's been sending me messages. So
Oh,
even though she's not asking him there, she's like, "You go, guys!" And
wow, that's awesome.
they're just amazing, like they're just a magical group of people.
Yeah, yeah, and what a gem we have here in Michigan with the Michigan Opera. It's just incredible to me that it was founded in 1971. We're now celebrating its 50th anniversary. You guys are bringing back Frida. I mean, just everything's aligned, and it's going to be a great performance. We know, and you guys are kicking off the next 50 years of the Michigan Opera. Isn't that something?
It's a great thing to
Yes,
do,
yes,
and
yes.
especially with this show, I think we should mention, Larry. I think you agree that, like you said before, it's a show not to be missed. It's a very good show. It's a very good performance. It's very, I think, it has every element that we want on a stage. We have the anger, we have the passion, we have the love scenes, we have the sexiness, we have a little violence. Catalina gives me a big slap on my cheek. So it's fun. It's a great
It's
show to do on
fake.
stage. It's fake, I know, but one time it was real.
But
What?
the passion in this show is phenomenal, and that's what kind of blew me away, because I was sitting there in the theater, and when you're in a theater like the say like at the Macomb Community College or even at the DIA, it was a little bit more intimate, but the quietness of the audience in anticipation of the performance, and then when it starts, and you have this soprano, these singers like Catalina and Ricardo, and you just feel it like you just can't feel that, say, in a movie or anywhere else. The theater, it just was such it grasped my heart, because I saw the scenes, on when she's suffering the miscarriage or what have you, or when you're talking during the revolutionary scenes, even, was something that was just beautiful. And then it goes into New York City, in the party scene, and I'm just thinking, what fun it must be to be a performer, to be on the ensemble of this cast of great artists. And it's so nice to hear you say that you've got the very first a cast that performed Frida with you in Michigan in 2015 back to revive this performance. So what a special time for you guys, wouldn't you say?
It's
Yes,
great. And
yes,
you know what? There's another thing also that I think I can add here, that you're talking about these elements in the story, Larry. The music is also reflective of all these places. Like Maestro Rodriguez is able to capture this New York scene with little jazz elements. All of a sudden, the
Yeah.
music sounds jazzy. And then we're doing the revolutionary scene in Mexico. It sounds very authentic Mexican, like the corrido music. Like sometimes I have to explain to some people what is a corrido. Well, a corrido is like a fairy tale that used to be told, just accompanying a guitar, and you tell about these heroes. Well, Maestro Rodriguez is able to capture that too, and then he captures, grand opera, and then he captures musical theater. It's a great combination of styles that he's able to capture masterfully.
Yes,
and
yes.
bolero. Our wedding has a little bit of bolero in it. We're even a little dancing in it, and then the end it has salsa music, and so it's just like he incorporates all this Latin American rhythms into the music, and Latin American and American rhythms, and in and European, and it's just like all of this mixture to create the perfect music for the perfect moment in their life. It's just really fantastic.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And it's amazing to me that we in Michigan are so fortunate to have this production. When you are out there performing it elsewhere in the country, or maybe in the southern states, or here we are in the north, do you sense a difference in the audience, would you say? or is it pretty
I I
restricted?
I I haven't since I don't know if Ricardo. I We've done it in the South. We've done it in Florida, Atlanta, um,
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, Detroit, and in the other side, it has been done in Long Beach, Portland, Alaska.
Wow,
So
Alaska.
yeah. So, and to tell the truth, I haven't felt any difference. I've just felt it. First of all, it's always sold out. Um, Always sold out the show.
Mhm.
Second, people absolutely love it, and one common theme in all the performances that we've had is that we get a lot of people that have never been in an opera, and again, they're interested because they're interested in the story and because they're interested in the life of Frida and Diego. So that's
Yeah.
why they come, and they've never been in an opera, and this is a common theme all over the United States. A lot of people that have never been in opera absolutely, come and love it and have a great first experience with opera. That's what
It's
I've
interesting that
noticed.
you it's interesting that you asked that because I actually have been paying attention a little bit to this, to how the audiences respond differently. And I
Mhm.
think my point of reference that tells me that the audience is pretty much similar throughout. They respond really well to the opera. One of the points of reference is when I curse in Spanish. There's a fight
Ah,
with Leon Trotsky, and I push him out, and I have a gun, and I shoot the gun, and I really go into this Mexican that my parents will not approve, but I just go into this really Mexican cursing, really like from my gut, and the audience loves it. They just go, whoa,
loves
because
it.
they
Yeah.
understand that this
The
is really
details.
a Mexican speaking in full terms.
Yes,
Plus,
yeah.
people, non-speaking, non-Spanish speakers. I don't know how to say that. Really know the bad words.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Those they know.
Is there going to be one of the local ballet folclóricos performing with the show like in 2015? Jaime.
Yes,
Yes, Jaime is coming
actually,
back. Yes.
yeah, we're
Oh
gonna have them
man.
again.
Yeah, that's awesome because
We've
we
also missed them all over, always missed them.
and when you have those other shows, do you try to have local ballets come and perform?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because Jaime and their group is I forget the name of the group actually, but they perform with us for our Cinco de Mayo celebration up here in Saginaw, north of Detroit, and they always do a phenomenal job. And I give kudos to him and his wife for not only performing the ballet folklorico, but teaching all the young kids.
Yes, it's awesome. Oh, they look so good. They look so beautiful, and they have this ability with their feet that it just brings the Mexican blood up in me. It's just so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and to see that in this performance in the Frida, Michigan Opera, and you're grabbing a local ballet folklorico, and they're coming and they're performing, and they bring in that Michigan Latino culture in a big way, because as we know, the ballet folklorico, the dances and the dresses and everything else just adds to the performance in a big way. So I'm so glad they're going to be coming back as well. Well,
They are a highlight. Definitely, they steal the show when they come out. It's just like, if anybody was sleeping in the audience because they didn't have some coffee before or something, they will definitely wake up there. And like, people
yeah.
love when they come out. Really love it.
Tell me a little bit about the costumes, because we're showing the slides again of some of the performance from back in 2015. Tell me a little bit about the costumes that you're wearing, and I know Martina had something to do with that as well.
Yeah. So, Monica Essen, which is our production designer, was from the first moment she understood the importance of being authentic and being respectful. And so Martina helped her to find actually the locations and the people where Frida will buy a lot of her tejuanas. And so definitely we have some pieces in the show that were brought from Mexico. There are other pieces that were made as exact copies, like her wedding dress, for example, which is one of her paintings, which is the green dress with the red shawl and the green um ay, la tira. Ay, what was it?
Tiara.
Anyways, and her hair and everything. So if these are exact, she made exact replicas of different pieces that Frida had in some pictures, and for example, the wedding dress, and the Tijuanas were brought from Mexico, and just really, really, trying the best we could to be authentic and to have pieces uh, that Frida chose at in a certain moment in her life. So it's that is a big part of the magic of this show. It's the authenticity of the costumes.
Yes, yes. Well, I want to thank you both so much for being with me tonight. I know that this went by so fast and we could go on
Yeah.
and talk about so many things because it's just such an exciting performance. But what would you say to anybody out there that you feel, maybe on the edge of, well, should I go? Should I not? I'm going to give you this last minute as you can kind of promote the show for the Michigan Opera. What would you say?
Ricardo.
I say don't hesitate. Just come see it. It's something that you're not going to regret watching because it's full of charm, it's full of color, it's great singing, great storytelling. The music is fantastic. You're going to feel leaving that place like you saw magic on stage. It has all the elements possible. And I say hurry up because it's going to sell out.
Yes, it will.
That's what I was gonna say. Go, 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 and do it now because it's selling out. Like
Yes.
and yeah, it's gonna be sold out.
February 26th and 27th this month, the Michigan Opera is presenting Frida. And like these actors are saying, move quickly, move fast because
Yeah.
it is going to sell out. And I'm telling you, you will be so happy that you see this performance because it's promoting our culture, it's promoting the arts, it's promoting music, and that is the great unifier. We know this in these times that we are living, and it's definitely a beautiful production with the ensemble of cast that they have. They do such a great job, and you can get your tickets right now. You've got 10 days before the performance, and I just really encourage all my mi gente on air audience to take the drive down to Detroit and see Frida, the Michigan Opera. Thank you so much, Catalina Cuervo and Ricardo Herrera, for being with me here tonight on Mi Gente On Air. Hasta luego, everyone. Thank you for being with
Hasta
us.
luego. Thank you. Thank you, Larry.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for being with me. We always seem to run out of time on these shows because, we have so much to say, and that's part of, a talk show. But I want to just thank everybody who tuned in. I know there were a few comments here, and I just want to read some of them from Corey Roberts. He says, Frida is back home. And he's talking about the idea that, the Frida production at the Michigan Opera was, Detroit was the first showing, and it was evolved here in the Detroit market. So I mean that's really nice. And then Clodagh Green says, we love you. She's a friend of Catalina Cuervo, I believe. And Cristian Lodoño de Cuervo, love you both. You two are great. I wish I could see the opera again. And yes, I am looking forward to it. February 26th, February 27th, because I was just blown away, like I said. And I would encourage anybody who has the opportunity to buy a ticket and go, because if you want to take even your young people to see this, I think that they'll be really influenced by it, in the arts. And today we got to promote the arts as much as we can. It's soothing to, look at a painting or look at a production like this opera, or to listen to the Detroit Symphony, and what we saw even at the Super Bowl, and the nostalgia that brought back with that performance of the hip hop artist. I mean, it just was beautiful, and it just takes you away for that moment, where you can really appreciate the art. So I encourage everybody, if you can, Frida, the opera at the Michigan Opera, and it's going to be happening. I'm trying to find actually the place where it's happening, because it's at the original Music Hall Center of the Performing Arts in Detroit. Okay, so thank you all again for being with me here on Mi Gente on Air, as we try to bring you these shows that are just infiltrated with Latino culture, and being at that table, like I've always said, because we're part of the great community of the Great Lakes Bay region. Okay, so we'll see you next week. Thank you so much for being with me again.